clowns and creeps. This is the Fright Week. Me and Gerald talked about doing this for ever now, and we got some of the things off and other things we didn't, and we'll just continue to do the series and talk about it. We have some good stuff to talk about. Gerald, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Gerald Pino, one of his friends. We've been trying to get together and do these podcasts for a while now. I haven't been able to get a chance to. Now we're trying to do it on Zoom. So this is kind of cool. It's a little bit different,
Yeah,
different format than just being together.
the first thing that we did was Otherworldly Voices, and I posted that up, and it did pretty well on TikTok. A lot of people viewed that. I don't know if you seen that posted up on TikTok.
Man, I feel bad. I'm the worst freaking person to send TikTok stuff to because I never watch it. Like I'll pop up my TikTok one day and I'll look, it's like, oh shit, there's like 75 messages I haven't even looked
Yeah,
at. Fuck. So then I
yeah.
start looking at it and realize, oh crap, I missed things. But then I got like a whole deep dive on it. Like I start looking at all the videos and start watching them all. But I'm so bad at watching TikTok, man. I apologize for that. You
Oh,
always
it's
send
all
me
good.
TikToks and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm the same thing with other people where they send me a bunch of stuff and it's like, man, it's kind of treacherous to go through or hard on you because it's just so much to go through. And then you're sitting there doing nothing anyway. You're gonna watch a YouTube video and you can't go through. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. I
Yeah.
feel bad about it.
And then what's
Also,
bad about TikTok too is like, well, like the YouTube videos, well, I pay for YouTube Prime or Premium, so I don't
mhm.
have to deal with commercials, and I can watch it just closed on my phone. So I'll listen to something on my phone for a couple hours and just close the screen, put it in my pocket, and work and do what I need to do.
Yeah,
And I'm listening to it in my ear. Where TikTok, I can't do that because like as soon as you play the video, you're there. Like you have to freaking watch the
yeah. You
video,
have
or
to scroll
else
up.
it'll crap out on you.
Yeah.
So some things I'll sit like if I'm not doing anything at work, if it's a slow day, I'll look at my feeds. I need to do it more, but then I start seeing some like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. Then I have to like remind myself to look it up to kind of deep dive into it.
Did you ever
I
watch
think
that video? It's of a native guy and he's whistling in the forest, and there's those creatures that are behind him. I'm pretty sure I
no,
sent you that. Oh
damn.
man, that
See,
was
that's something
the
I'd be interested in because I always heard about that, and it was kind of funny. One of the first times I was out with one of my Native American friends, we were out camping and stuff, and you sent me the Day of Politis things, and we were watching Missing 411.
mhm.
And I started to like say, hey guys, stay in pairs, don't split up. If you guys get lost, try to communicate with each other, find each other, be armed, all this stuff. And I was saying, well, whistle, if we can't find you. It's like, oh shit, I guess that's a bad thing to do. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Never whistle. But
Yeah,
I have
never
to send you
whistle.
that
And
video. I have to find it somewhere. But that's the most compelling video I've ever seen of like
did you
creatures or
send it through
creatures in the background.
TikTok?
Yeah, it's through TikTok, but it was years ago. That's
Oh
like,
shit.
like I'm pretty sure it was a couple years back. I'll have to
Oh
search
man.
for it because they might have deleted it too. You know, sometimes you can't view the video anymore,
Yeah,
so I have
that
to
happened
double
to me a few
check.
times.
Yeah, and a good
So
intro for both of us that we could talk about is that we both shared a best friend. Her name was Jess. We never really talked about that on camera, and that's how we eventually became, good friends. So
yeah,
to this day, this is what it is. And rest in peace, Jess. We miss her both.
absolutely. I think about it a lot.
Yeah. One first thing that we'll get into is the Elon Musk reveals. What were your thoughts about that, Joe?
So yeah, some of the stuff I saw, the SpaceX rockets, man, that's wild. That's pretty cool, and I think it's revolutionary that he's doing that. Some of the stuff he's coming out with, like this Tesla van, the autonomous robo van he came out with. You know, transportation wise, that's really freaking cool. I gotta like that. I don't like the robot bartender. That's kind of freaking creepy.
Yeah, it
That
is.
goes back to that uncanny valley thing. It's hey, it looks acts kind of like human, but it's not human. That
It-
is weird. So
I just think about the implications. Like we were talking off camera, and that's something that we need to talk about the Neuralink. And what if there was some country that, if they were doing something really important for someone and they just zapped everything with the, what's the name of those bombs for the electric? I can't think of what they're called.
oh, EMP.
EMP. There you go.
Yeah.
So if someone had that in their EMP and it was helping them a lot and it just wiped everything, would it just fry inside of you, or I wonder what the implications of that would be.
Yeah, see, that's something that I'd be kind of freaked out about as well, because nowadays, like you could hack almost anything. People, China, for instance, has paid a lot of fucking money to hack our infrastructure and hack all of our stuff. While you look at all their things they make now, like their new jets and everything, they're all basically
Mhm.
like the Wish versions of our jets.
Yeah,
So they, oh yeah, we have a sixth gen, yeah, but your sixth gen's a piece of shit, and we already know
yeah,
about it, But you hacked basically our infrastructure, and you ended up getting plans from Lockheed and Boeing and all that, and they've done that. In fact, there was a guy in Canada. I don't know if you saw that story, but it was a big freaking deal. The guy was helping China out, and Xi Jinping and all this, and he ended up creating like a company in Canada, and they got so much of our technology just by sending malware and everything to companies like Boeing and Lockheed and all that.
and
And
people
they
just
got,
clicking on it.
yeah, so like they'll send something like internal through like your emails, and it looks like, oh hey, it's Janet from work. What's this? Click on it, and boom, malware, and they get all your files and everything. And they had a whole entire warehouse basically designed to do that, to hack the US and to hack other countries, to steal intellectual property. And that's what they were doing. And that's when they ended up coming out with their stealth plane and their stealth bomber, supposedly, and all this other stuff. But that was basically from us. The only thing is they still don't have the technology to create those the way like we do,
Yeah, and you
which,
think
it's,
that there would be some type of foreknowledge, like this is the only system that you could use, don't click on this stuff, and that it would just be internally so secure. But do you think that it's more like there's insiders and they're letting this happen, or just people that dumb, you think? I mean,
it's a combination, I think, of both. Possibly some insiders getting paid, because that's the whole entire thing that's going on with professors and all that, getting money from China.
mm,
They're doing that all the time. So they say, hey, we're going to pay you this much money for some grant. And then you find out, oh, wait a minute, that money all came from China. And some of them are communist sympathizers. I don't know if you know how the way the colleges are now, but
oh
most of
yeah.
these people hate America, hate everything we're about, hate capitalism, think communism is the best thing on the planet, which is fucking stupid. It's never
Oh,
worked ever.
the only reason they believe that is they live at home with their parents and they are allowed to devise their own thoughts, is my opinion.
No, and then these college professors and these people, well, you don't know because you've never gone to college and you've never taken a class. It's like, yeah, your commie professor told you. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So yeah, I'd be worried about for sure about hacking. Like I was worrying that too when Neuralink was first introduced. Like, well, what would stop somebody from just hacking you? And
mhm.
then you saying that just kind of reminded me of a thing we're going to talk about later about like scary episodes and all that. But there was a show that was like that, and it was like, oh, this is getting a little too real. It was kind of freaky. I don't know if you watched it. Oh, what was it called? It was on Netflix.
Is it like that Black Mirror thing?
Black Mirror. There it is. But like
I've never
Black
watched that
Mirror,
yet. I
you
need to
haven't
watch it.
watched it?
No.
Shit, man, you got to watch it. So,
Yeah.
like, you thinking about Neuralink and all that, and like the stuff that like the technology is getting to, it's almost like we're living Black Mirror, like in a way, because they stopped their season, like their latest season, they stopped because it was during COVID, and it's like, oh yeah, this shit's getting too real. We're gonna stop for a bit and let it kind of peter off and let this
Yeah.
COVID thing go through
But on the
because we just
positive
did an
side,
episode.
yeah, on the positive side for Neuralink, like people have neurological problems and they have, what do you call it? Um, just if it could possibly help you with pain or something with balance or anything, if those things, I think, people just from perspective, they're thinking they don't want to be controlled, and that's like an aspect of it. Maybe someone could tap in and control you, but at the same time, if it could help those people that are really in need and have neurological problems, I think the prospects of that are just great.
Yeah, that's a huge advancement with the medical industry and all that. And like you said, the neurological problems. I mean, people with MS, people
If it
just
could
with,
keep something at bay.
yeah, that would be great. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things that Elon was really pushing for too. Like, obviously, he wants to integrate technology with the humans. He wants us to be, because he's worried about AI too. I've seen him in podcasts before talking about it, saying, "Yeah, I worry about AI, but what I want to do is advance it to where we're growing with it, and it's part of us." And I know that's one of his big pushes is to help people with disabilities and neurological problems. In fact, man, even some of the stuff now I've been watching. I don't know if you've seen recently. There's just a Marine. He's a combat vet, but he's making his own like biometric arm or helping
Yeah,
himself out.
I've seen that
But he
before.
has technologies and stuff. And he's having a hell of a time with the VA because it's the VA, yay government. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, all the stuff that he's even doing with his arm, like where you can actually control the hand and everything, the movement of the hand, and being able to shoot again and just
yeah.
do things.
Because if you had the
Now,
Neuralink and then you
the
had a
Neuralink would
robotic
just be
arm,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah,
or leg, that'd
just
be amazing.
as soon as you think it, boom, it happens.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I wonder if that would happen too. So you've heard of like phantom pain and all that,
Oh yeah.
and you've heard the whole mirror thing where like you put your hand like a fake hand there, and then you put your hand behind a mirror, but you still see the reflection of a like a dummy hand,
Hmm.
and then somebody hits it and you feel it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would happen too. Like, so if you lost your leg and you had Neuralink and you got a new robotic leg, if you'd feel the sensations of like, well, I guess like how advanced you'd be able to make that leg, it wouldn't just be like a foot. You actually have toe movement
Yeah.
and like mobility. So
So
that'd make things way better as far as just mobility wise
I would
and just
assume
being
that they
you
would want you to
moving
feel things,
digits.
but if you went too far, and I don't think you would want to feel pain, of course, but that would be pretty neat to actually feel your toes. Like, can you wiggle your toes? Can you feel me with the pen, brush up the bottom of your
Yeah,
foot?
could you feel like sand under your feet? If you're walking
Yeah.
in sand, things like
Yeah.
that. Or would you be able to feel that? But would it still have the pain sensors too? Like, would you still
Mhm.
feel pain in a way?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't think you would because, well, there's no pain, there's no nerve endings there to feel that pain, but your brain would trick you into feeling that said pain.
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's something to think about too. Like, what if you got in a wreck and it severed your leg in a different place?
yeah, and
Be
you think you could walk,
shocking.
but you can't because it's gone.
Mm, that'd be
Or fire, for
something
instance, like
weird.
if you're laying in bed or something, there's a fire and you don't feel the
And your
heat
arm or your
radiating off
leg
your
was the
arm.
only thing that could have alerted you.
Yeah,
But if you
I
have
gotta
something
imagine.
like Neuralink, maybe there's something that could alert you to your environment around you.
Yeah, I'd assume it wouldn't matter as far as Neuralink's concerned. It'd be okay. Hey, wait a minute,
But that
your
goes
fire
back to
alarm's going off.
that could go back to the implication of where it says in the Bible. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard about that before, where it says there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide in the end of the days.
Hmm.
So we're already in that where they could see directly through your house. They could
Yeah, I
see
mean,
your
they can see
phone
everything
and
you're doing. We're
everything.
talking right here. They know our phones are that way. I mean,
Hmm.
despite everything you try to do with your phone, it still records everything you say. It's listening to you. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
care how prepared you think you are. It's not going to matter. Unless you're living yourself or living in a freaking chamber. What are those chambers called that are supposed to protect you from EMPs?
Yeah.
Fahrenheit cage.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah,
you
I know
build
what
your
you're
whole
talking
entire
about.
house a Fahrenheit cage, and then even then, man, you're not gonna. They're still gonna know.
Yeah. But if everyone had a Neuralink, that would be just extra to that. Like, this is what you're going to get when you're born because you have the possibility of this. So you never know.
See, that's kind of scary too because that's the way they can push it on you. Like the government can push it on you like really fast and saying, "Hey, we're getting rid of Social Security numbers because Social Security numbers are an old system and they're flawed. So what we're going to do is we're going to implant you with this chip, and that will be your Social Security number. That'll have all your medical records on it. Eventually, hey, you know what? That'll be the way you pay for stuff, just like Apple Pay."
Yep.
And then what's stopping a tyrannical government from saying, "Oh, you know what? We don't like the way you're speaking right now. You have 2 weeks off now from doing anything. You can't buy food. You can't travel anywhere. In fact, we're going to put a little red check mark on your name, and we're going to watch you and watch what you buy. Make sure you're not a threat to society."
Yep. And that's what we were originally going to talk about is that Hillary Clinton and John Kerry were talking about taking away free speech, and that would be the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's so. Some of the stuff, like I said, it's really cool and it's great and it's wonderful technology, but I could see it being abused real easy,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's kind of scary. you start thinking about how fast it can be abused. But I don't know. That's just I don't know if that's just doomsday way of thinking or just like the pessimistic way of thinking way. It's
Yeah.
like this is cool, but it could
And
really screw us over.
and to take away from it too is that, people would resist. That's what people do, especially in our nation, not having any control about like that before of that kind. And what are they going to do? Arrest 75% of all of us? Unless that's what they plan to do for free
Well,
speech.
that's the thing. I mean, you eliminate free speech, and then all the other things can go out the window. Your Second, Third, Fourth Amendment, Fifth. All your rights are basically gone at that point. See, the Second Amendment is there to protect other rights. That's why we have what we have. That's why the system we have in place working the way it does. And yes, it's a fairly new system. I mean, we're fairly new with everything,
Yeah.
but still, the things we have in place have made us last as long as we have, and we're probably one of the freest nations in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I mean, a lot of people try to say all on and on about, oh, this place has freedom, that place has freedom, not to the degree that we do.
Hmm.
You go to another country and you try to say stuff against their leaders and the heads state, they'll eliminate you. You're a dissident. They'll get rid of you. You know,
Yes.
and in our country, we have the ability to say that, and then we have the guns to back what we say if we need to. You know,
And that's
we
what
have means to protect ourselves.
a lot of people say, that the system is broken and the United States doesn't work and it's built on racism. And I think relating today, I don't know about you, but I've witnessed more racism by Mexicans and blacks and other minorities rather than white people. That's just what I've experienced personally. And also too, if you want to say that the system is messed up, it's just depending on, there's always going to be crooked cops. I've ran into bad cops and I've been arrested just from walking down the street before, been abused by police, but that's not the only police that have been around. I've encountered a
Yeah,
lot of good police. And I've also had to deal with the system where I was falsely accused of stuff and I had to totally come back, and I defended myself a few times. So, I mean, stuff like that happens, but we have enough freedom to do so. If we're in a different country where, say, Iran or something like that, you're just automatically guilty until you're presumed innocent, and then you could stay in there forever. They just throw away the key, basically. So with us, we have the ability to defend ourselves. It's just a matter of what you get into too in life. It's not, things just ain't at random if you're involved in something, or you could say that if you look a certain way, because I know if people see me, you're preconceived with this is what you're about. But I just say that to go into, like, I don't think the country is just broken and all. There's just minor things. If it was totally corrupt, these people that are complaining about everything would all be in jail because
yeah.
they wouldn't want them to hear anything about it.
It seems like a power grab here with some of these people, like these ones who don't want you to speak, who claim that everything's racist, everything's sexist, everything's whatever key term they want to use, transphobic.
Hmm.
It's all just a power grab. And what's sad is if these people ever get power, they'd be really bad for the country.
Oh yeah.
We'd have no country at this point,
Yeah.
at that point, with all the stuff they're doing. And none of this stuff, all this racism stuff, it's bullshit. I mean, we're a melting pot for reasons. Yeah, sure, we're gonna have some racist things happen here and there, but it's not to the degree like some of these other countries. Like people look at like Japan and all that. Well, look at China or Japan. They're not racist, or they're really cool and they're great people. It's like, you know what? There's some of those racist people on the planet, and that's because they're a secular system.
Yep.
They have their religion set, they have their people set, and they don't like foreigners coming in. Mind you,
Hmm.
when that happens, though, unfortunately, your country kind of collapses with birth rates. That's happening even here, but it's really happening in Europe and Japan.
Japan.
Yeah, their birth rate's so low that their country's going to be non-existent in the next, geez, what, 50 years, maybe even less. And they're begging people to come down there to just procreate, to make more people because they need more people. See, with us, we don't suffer from that problem as much because of immigration
Hmm.
and the whole melting pot thing. I mean, a lot of people coming across the border legally. I have families down the street for me. Great people, man. They have a bunch of kids. It's kind of cool to see because you see them out playing, and you don't see that from our kids anymore. Americans' kids, they've been
Hardly ever.
sheltered.
Yeah.
You hardly ever see kids out riding bikes. But yeah, those little kids from Mexico and stuff, man, they're out there playing. They're integrating with society. They're making friends. They're learning English pretty quick, and that usually does happen.
Hmm.
The parents usually have a harder time, but that's just age, you know. But
Yeah.
they're attempting to learn. But because they have 7 kids right there, it's great because that boosts our population. And as long as we keep telling people that they have to assimilate to our country, then it works. That's why we have a country. And yes, we do have a broken system sometimes. We do have flawed things, but still we have a hell of a lot of freedoms. And we have that well what word am I trying to use? But we have that acceptance of people, other people's cultures and everything. But
Yeah.
we still expect you to assimilate to our culture.
Yeah. As
That's
long
why
as you
it's so
believe in the
detrimental.
constitutional republic,
Yeah.
that's what
So
everyone should
you
abide by.
yeah, so if you come to America, yeah, you could live here and you could prosper, but you have to assimilate. You can't sit here and demand that we want Sharia law because that's how it was in our country, and we want to stone people for not believing the way we believe. No, that doesn't work here, Jack. You can't
Hmm.
fucking do that. And a few places out there in Texas, they try to do that, and Texas shut it down. Michigan, on the other hand, like Dearborn, they're starting to do stuff like that, and they're starting to let them create their own like basically communities out there or communes out there and cities to take over, and they're starting to try to implement like Sharia law, and they're getting rid of freedom of religion and all that. And that's the problem with getting certain people into your country that don't assimilate.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm not trying to be a stickler, be pissed off with Muslims and all that, but those people do not assimilate. They go and they conquer. That's what they do.
Yep.
They fuck, they kill, they rape, they pillage, and they take over an area. And it's happening all over in Europe. You see it constantly.
It's happened since the
And
Crusades,
it
before the
has. I mean,
Crusades.
look at Greece. That's why Greeks have such a hard time with Turks, and it's the same freaking thing. It's a religious thing that's been dated back centuries upon centuries since the beginning of the Bible. These people have been killing each other in the name of
Well, I
Allah
mean, the
and
people of
religion.
the area, but the
You know,
Muslim religion is rather new. What is it, year 600?
yeah, I believe so.
And they weren't
But
really implemented or prominent in the Middle East until Saladin. You know about Saladin?
and it also depends on like what sect they're believing in and everything.
Yeah,
So like some of them, yes, they all wholeheartedly like believe, hey, no, we come over here, we conquer, and we rape and pillage, and we bring people to us. And if you don't believe in us, we kill you essentially.
yeah. But you know
You
about
know, so
Saladin, the
I
conqueror?
have to look a little more
So
about
he
Saladin.
was, I believe it was the 11th or 12th century. So that's when Islam or Muslims in the area became prominent, and they beat the Christians in the area, the Crusades. So he was the one that led the peoples in the area. So they didn't have any nations or anything like that. They were in the area, the people, before there was Islam and all that, and before they called themselves Muslims. That's but they weren't didn't have any nations until Saladin conquered, and he so it's that's just what I'm saying. It's rather new. It's not anything that's old. So the people might have been fighting over the centuries, but to historically get it right, the Jewish people were around almost 2,000 years before Islam was around, and then Christians, furthermore, the Muslims by what, 500, 600 years in the area. But
I was just typing something.
that's something you could look up if you want to watch a movie, and it's based on Saladin is Kingdom of Heaven. That's a really good movie. It's not exactly accurate to historic sense, but it's a good movie.
You're saying Saladin, right?
Yeah.
Because every time I'm trying to talk, I see Kingdom in Heaven here. Yeah, the surrender of Jerusalem. Saladin and Evelyn. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I do think some of their stuff's pretty interesting. Like some of the history, it's kind of crazy because a lot of the history back then is getting wiped out by the sects that are out now, and that's a damn shame. I mean, you have these
Yeah.
extreme sects of Islam, I guess,
That's the
that are
way
just
history
wiping out
works, though, is
history.
that the
You
winners
know?
of the battles get to make history or erase it.
Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer. You have so much stuff out there, like even in like Iran and Iraq, the ancient cities and everything, the water ducts, all the
There's something I
history.
have to send you, and I can't remember if it's on Instagram or TikTok, but there's I think it's in Iraq where they have an old Jewish temple and they still keep it immaculate. And the guy that's talking about it is Muslim, and he's saying that this temple was here hundreds of years before we were. I have to send it to you and find
And that
it.
was in
Not too
Iraq.
sure. I'm not too sure where it was precisely, but it was in a Arab nation.
Man, what are you
So,
thinking about what's going on right now over there with Israel and all that, wiping out the rebels,
man, uh,
bombing Lebanon, and
that's some really deep, but I believe ever since they had the paratroopers, and you know everything about that, and they had everything that they did posted on YouTube, like it was really graphic. I was surprised they had
yeah,
YouTube, and man,
yeah, that attack
they
was
killed the women, the children, the pets, everything. And how do you not expect someone to respond the way that they did? I mean, you can't feel sorry for them at all. I mean, it was gruesome what they did. It was just it's
I
nothing
don't
that I
know if you
ethically believe in what they did.
yeah,
100.
I don't know if you've heard was it Netanyahu his speech to Lebanon saying how their city was great and it was like deemed like the jewel
Hmm.
of the Middle East and these people are ruining your city. Get rid of don't let them do that to your city. That
Yeah.
was an interesting speech. If you listen to that one, that was kind of interesting. He was talking to the Lebanese people saying, "Hey, get rid of these people, these
And
terrorists that are
that's
invading
what
your
they've
country."
yeah, that's what they've always done is try to make peace with them and say, we'll give you land, but they've always refused. They've always refused. They think if they it's like a form of surrender and they believe that if the Jewish people still are around, that's still the problem. They just want them to be eliminated. That's where that whole thing comes from, like from the river to the sea or something like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, I just don't understand the stupidity. Well, these people here in the U.S. who protest it and go, you know, queers for Palestine and all that, useful idiots, man. It's the definition of useful idiot. The
Yep.
communists used to call them that all the time. You know, they
Yep.
get them out there, they let them do their thing, let them protest, let them create havoc, and then when they get their way, guess who gets wiped out first? Those
Yep.
people. You
And
know?
that's what they don't understand. Communism, socialism, uh, being an Arab or Muslim, I should say, they've never supported gay rights. They've never
Oh,
supported
never.
women's rights. So they would automatically be wiped out. I don't know what they're thinking, or they just don't. They're not smart enough
Yeah, that
to know that.
they don't read books, I guess. They don't look at history. They don't understand that. Hey, yeah, they're throwing gays off of roofs out there. You
Yeah.
know, they don't like you. You're kind, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
it's
And
one of
just
those deals where
to
you want
comment
to be
on
able to
it,
like, you want to be able to like buy them. You want to go help them? I'll buy you a ticket to Palestine. Go over there and check it out. Be there and be helping
yeah.
and see what they do. You know?
And before, people go too far, we love gay people. It's just not like we want a certain thing ourselves because we're not directing it towards anything. We're not making out to be bad. I think everyone has a right to do what they want. We have gay friends. My son is
Yeah.
gay. I mean, I'm okay with anything that people do. So it's
My
just,
priest, the one who married us, is gay. You know,
yeah,
I I'm under the whole entire assumption. Look, I don't care what you do, just don't push it on me. You
yeah,
know, as long as you don't
it's,
push your beliefs on me, cool. We could get along.
yeah.
You
And
know.
that's the way that we should all live is we should all be accepting of everything and we
Hmm.
should all be free to say what we want and do what we want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. That's all what we believe in. So I think that'd be a good segue to get into the next topic. We're going to talk about the all-time our all-time favorite Halloween episodes from TV. It could be a movie also, so anything from TV source. So our top five. If you want to start it off, Gerald, number five.
Oh man. Okay. So now, when I read your list, was it all time just like scary movie, or was it all time Halloween in general?
Anything horror, anything scary, Halloween.
So,
It has to be TV based. We're just doing TV right now.
first TV based one that I liked was, I don't know if you ever seen the show, but it was called Fear. It was on MTV
Mm.
when we were younger, and they only did like 16 episodes. And like you start watching them when you're a kid, and you watched it, it's like real impressionable. It's like, oh man, this is crazy. And the way they did the shots were perfect. So they had a camera facing you, kind of like how we're doing the Zoom thing,
Yeah.
but it was like an old school GoPro facing you, and all they were doing was getting the reactions of the people like having to do this stuff. And did you
I
ever
would have
watch
a
the show?
list and they would follow around with it.
Yeah, like they have a list of stuff. It was like a paranormal reality TV show for like
Hmm.
money. So they tell you, oh, you go to this place and do a seance with the Ouija board, and then you have to sit there for 30 minutes in the dark. You have to shut off all your lights, and then once you're done, you come back and there's $1,000 for you in the coffer.
I wanted
So
to go
that
on that
was a
show
cool
so
one.
bad.
Oh, it was a cool show. And a bunch of the stuff, like, it was kind of neat because they were showing like sanatoriums, they were showing like battleships and things like that, haunted ships.
Hmm.
But none of the stuff, like, if you ever looked them up, I don't think any of them were actually real. Like,
No, I
it
didn't
was
know.
just good. It was really good writing.
Was it?
So they did a really good job with writing, and they did a really good job with having the camera facing you, and just the fear that would pour out seemed real just because of the stuff that they had to do and like the backstory that they wrote for these places. One of my favorite episodes was at Camp Spirit Lake. It was like the fourth episode in it. If you ever get a chance to check it out, check it out. But they have something called a psychomanthium chamber, and
Hmm.
what it is a room to. I don't know if you ever heard about this, but it's a room you sit in that's like with mirrors, and it's supposed to be a way you can contact the spirits or the paranormal. So you sit in this room, and it's surrounded by mirrors. And this one they made, it was an octagon essentially. Like they made it into an octagon with mirrors on every side. You walk in, and there's a mirror on top and the bottom. You sit in a chair, and you try to commune with the spirits.
Hmm.
And I always thought that was one of the creepiest things that they had to do in any of the episodes. And it always just stuck with me because mirrors creep me out in general. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I don't really
No.
much care for mirrors.
Yeah, I won't keep around old mirrors at all.
Yeah.
But
So
we'll
like,
talk about that some other time. That would be a good topic.
yeah,
And the theme song for that show was Voodoo by Godsmack, and
yeah,
it was great.
that was one of the best theme songs for us, like a scary show.
Yeah,
It was good.
it was.
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that's a very good that's a very good choice. So
What's your number five?
my number five is The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. So
Yeah. Which
for
one
me,
in specific?
it was hard to choose. I think it was either five, four, or three, but I chose four. It's where Mr. Burns and the Dracula episode, I know you remember that, where
Yeah,
they go to his
that's a
house,
good
they're
one.
invited to his house. And I always remember the happy fun slide from that episode where Bart is running up the stairs and he can't resist like the happy fun slide because they're running away from vampires and he hits the switch and they slide back down to the vampires. And it's just so hard to choose, but more part of
Oh
that
man.
is like the terror at 5 feet. We're on the bus and they tell Otto that a gremlin is right beside me, but there's really a gremlin
Yeah.
outside. And no, the mole man is in a gremlin car and he runs him off the road. So, and another one, The Devil and Homer Simpson, that's in the
Oh, that
same
one's
as
a
Zelda Soap
classic.
for a Donut.
I love that one.
Yeah.
That's if you ever happen to see the Devil Flanders, I need that little Funko.
The Devil Flanders. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have
I
Devil
got you.
Flanders as the Funko Pop, and it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. And those are just so timeless. It got to a point where, and I'm always talking about that, where seasons one through nine, and it just ends right there, and it just becomes too over the top for me with the guest appearances and just the episodes in general. But on Treehouse of Horror, I was reading it all, and it goes up to eight. So eight was the last good episode, and it didn't start off from season one. It started off at season two, where they had the Raven episode. The never.
Yeah, I like the
You
Raven
remember
one. That
that?
was That was
Those
one
are
of the
just
ones where I actually learned the Raven because of that show.
yeah, me
I
too.
kept watching it and I learned how to do that part of the Raven.
hmm And that's me in general, where really didn't have a good home growing up, and my morality, believe it or not, came from The Simpsons. Like they all actually had good morality, even though there was insane shit going on. People may not believe it, but it is pretty good morality.
Yeah, I remember like my friends talking about how they were banned from watching The Simpsons and like Ren and Stimpy and stuff. Me and my dad would watch The Simpsons. We'd watch Beavis and Butthead.
hmm
Ren and Stimpy was a big one. I
Yeah,
used to love Ren and Stimpy. I look back at it now and like you watch Ren and Stimpy now as an adult, like, oh my God, man, they let us
yeah,
watch this when we were kids. This is awful.
that's what I got right here.
Yeah.
Still with me.
Oh, do you remember the Ren? Just to kind of go on an offshoot here, and I could probably put this in my list, but there was a Ren and Stimpy episode where Ren had to be in charge of Stimpy's fan club,
Yes.
and that whole entire montage of him staring at his hands, like with these hands,
Yeah,
all it
yeah.
would be is a quick twist. Good lord.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's, it's so good. Okay, but Treehouse of Four, what's your number four?
damn. So sightings was a big one for me when
Mm,
I was growing up. I
that
remember
theme
if I used to,
song coming on was
yeah.
chilling.
So, and the narrator was great.
Yeah,
So, like, Sightings was a good one. And I remember one that always stick with me was Sightings, The Black Forest Hauntings,
yeah,
1990s. And what that was really cool about that one was they actually had the family there. And when they were interviewing him, the guy got scratched on his back. And it happened like real time while they were filming it. The dude just getting clawed. And that was crazy. And it was one of those deals like, wow, that's just here in Colorado. It's just maybe like 45 minutes away. The
yeah,
house actually exists, and it's still there, I think, to this day,
it
that
is.
Black Forest house.
Yeah, my aunt
That
used
was
to
an
live out
interesting
there,
one.
but not where that stuff was going on. It was more up the highway.
Yeah, so that one was a crazy one. And then I think the medium was saying something about the mirror was once again going back to mirrors, but saying something about the mirror had like bad energy in it or something. I can't remember, but I remember that episode. And I remember Sightings was an awesome freaking show. I used to
Yeah.
love that show.
One thing that I remember from that show is that's how I learned about Ebola and how bad it was. They
Oh,
used to talk
really?
about stuff. Yeah. Ebola, there was one episode where I can't remember if it was like in Mexico, some Latin American country, could have been Spain, where they were taking pictures and these faces were showing out of the tiles and all that, like the floor, and they would appear. And no matter what they did, they couldn't get rid of them. Have you ever heard about that?
No, I
The
haven't. That's
faces,
creepy.
and I'll post it up on here so you could see it visually. Like everything that we talk about, I'll do like pictures and everything, video. But the pictures from that are so haunting, but it's very interesting to look at. I'll show you when I find it, I'll send you the info about that. But that was a pretty good one too.
Nice.
And
And that
just,
was on a Sightings episode?
yeah, it was.
Oh, that's crazy. That was actually I do remember like I don't remember that episode, but I do remember Sightings wasn't just ghosts; it was all just paranormal in general.
Yeah, it was
So they would do
paranormal in general.
UFOs and just crazy stuff. Man, that was a cool freaking show. I loved that
It
show.
was. Yeah, I was sad when it didn't come on anymore because
Yeah,
it came on like at 1 in the morning and it was just so like to have all the lights off and just be real ominous, like hear the theme song like, oh shit. It was great.
yeah. I used to catch it on their second showing, so they'd show it in like at night at 1, but in the mornings they'd show it like at 4 or 5. And I remember
Mhm.
waking up early so I could watch it. I sit there and watch it in my room
Yeah.
before I
It
go to
was
school.
man, there was just so much better things back in the day. That's what I tell my daughter all the time, like from the arcades to the malls and all that. So I don't know if you remember or if you're old enough to remember Celebrity Lanes in Denver.
No, I don't remember Sewer
Oh
Lanes in
man.
Denver.
Believe they had 80 lanes of bowling and it was like
Oh,
shaped in
damn.
an L. So you walked in and it was off Colorado Street in Denver. So you walked in and there was bowling as far as you could see. It was awesome. And then to the left, there was a little arcade. You walked down the hallway, it was a long ass way. You hit a left and there was another arcade before you hit the stairs. So there was a little arcade that was about the same, going to be a little bit bigger than the first one. Then you
Damn.
walk downstairs and there was a whole water slide area and a pool. And then you walk through the pool and the water slide area, and the whole underground was a huge arcade. And they had a giant haunted house shooting gallery. It was amazing. I
Damn, that sounds fun.
Oh, it was so cool. And I tell my kids about stuff like that all the time, like just stores and things going on, like the shows and just the feeling of the 90s was just great.
Yeah, man, I miss the old school. Biggest arcade we ever had here in Polo was Tilt, and it was in the
Yeah.
mall, and it was always just fun to go in there and just play a few games here and there, and play some Tekken,
Hmm.
fighting games, the shooting games. God, I used
And
to love those shooting games.
they had that for a long time too. I think they didn't get rid of it until like 2000, maybe 12, or it could have been later than that. It might have been like 2015. It was a
Yeah, I
while.
think so. Yeah, because they still used to have the Tilt there, and I remember they took all the shooting games out,
Hmm.
and they were all getting uncalibrated anyway. They were all getting messed up, but
Yeah.
the light gun games were great. But I remember going in there and playing like Soul Calibur and Tekken. I used to love it.
Yeah.
I remember one day because they used to have oh, what was it called? Because it wasn't Sports Authority back then, but there used to be a sporting goods store where Boot Barn is now.
Hmm.
There used to be a sporting goods store there. I had to refill my paintball gun, my CO2 cylinder. So I
Yeah.
went there to refill my CO2 cylinder, walking through the mall, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go play some arcade games. I remember putting my cylinder on top of the game on one of the parts, and I was playing, and the damn thing busted because of the
Oh,
heat, and just
yeah.
boom.
Just from the machine itself.
Yeah, the machine itself was so hot it popped the cylinder, so
Ah,
it popped my CO2 canister. Oh
was it
man, it
loud?
busted the seal. Yeah, it was pretty scary. It popped. Like, oh, what the hell happened? Holy shit! It's just, I remember that. That was a pretty core memory there. Jeez. Yeah, but you're
That's
right, man. They got rid of that probably in the about 2000, I think 2010, 2011, I think actually, because I think they started doing the Goal Academy there.
no, well, they still had it had to be 2015 because I
You
remember
think?
living downtown and still going there, so that had to be after 2012.
Yeah, possibly. Man, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a while. But to go into my number four, and this list was so hard just thinking about it and
It
having
was.
looking at stuff on my shelf and all that. Mine was Paranormal Witness. I don't know if you ever seen that show before.
Okay, so Paranormal Witness was a sister show, wasn't it? To Fear, I think, because I think Paranormal
Fear?
Witness
Oh, no, no. No,
was
it's on the
on.
Sci-Fi Channel and it was true stories about
Oh, okay, no, then
people's
it wasn't what I thought. There's
people's
another show that was
stories
on
and paranormal
VH1.
accounts.
There was a VH1 show that was kind of like a sister show to
Oh no.
Fear, and it was paranormal something.
Yeah, that's
But
this is totally different. So I implore you to watch it, but seasons 1 through 3, because season 4 they changed it up and it was on, and you could look it up on YouTube. They have the episodes on YouTube, but they're very good. And season 3 is the best.
Paranormal
And there,
Witness,
I'll let you write it down.
I did just now.
Okay.
Sorry, just
And
kicking myself.
specifically season 3, there's one on season 2. It's called the Dybbuk box. It's where these people sell their box and people inherit it. You just have to go watch it. I don't want to say too much about
Now,
that.
was that one actually about that Dybbuk box they found where the guy had to like get it inlaid in gold?
No,
Like, okay, so the movie, what was the movie that came out about the Dybbuk box?
I think my personal belief is that it was inspired by that.
Yeah, it was inspired by that because they I watched videos on YouTube before, and it was probably part of that Paranormal Witness where the
Mhm.
guy says he found this Dybbuk box. He
He got it
gave
from
it
a
as a
yard sale.
Yeah, he gave it to his mother as a gift, and she had like a stroke or something,
That's it. You're
and then
saying.
he took it back. Yeah, and then
Mhm.
that was a freaking crazy thing. I know that episode, but I didn't watch it through Paranormal Witness. I watched it through YouTube when I was
Yeah.
doing so when I was working graveyards at King Soopers as a baker,
Mhm.
that's all I do. I go on, watch videos of paranormal shit and just leave my phone there and just watch it as I was baking because I was the only one back there. So that's what I did and nobody bugged me. But
Yeah,
yeah, that Dybbuk box episode was creepy as shit. And that is just a creepy thing in general.
it
That's
is.
why I have a hard time about like getting things from yard sales.
Oh yeah. I
Like
don't buy anything used.
my wife always buys like they buy stuff all the time. Like my in-laws just I think a couple years back, they bought this really, really nice German-made like curio cabinet, and it's huge.
Hmm.
It's like the span of their whole entire wall, but it's
Really?
gorgeous. And they got it from somebody on Craigslist like that was selling it. They got it for like $300, and this thing's worth thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
But it's
you
old, and
just
I was like, that's kind of creepy. I don't know if I'd buy these things.
yeah, you just never know what's on it. So I refuse to buy old stuff. But to go on further with the paranormal witness, there another good episode is where this guy in Mexico, he rents an apartment and a lot of murder victims he finds out happened there from the cartel member used to live there and stuff going on with the Saint of Death, and that one was really good. There was an episode with werewolves where this farmhouse was surrounded by werewolves. They seen a UFO previously or lights, what seemed to be a UFO. They went out to investigate it and they came back in the same night. Those creatures, the Wolfman creatures, came back and surrounded the farm. That one's really good. There's another one, and we're gonna do a back-to-back episode. So week two of the Frights is gonna be right after this episode, and I'm gonna further talk about this. But there's an episode where this guy, I think he was HVAC or something, and he went into this house where there was witchcraft or an exorcism going on, and it went into him, and but in his house, and in his house there was stuff going on. And have you seen the movie The Gate? And I'm going to talk about that with the movies. It's
The
it's up
gates.
here. Oops, going the wrong way. Which way? Right here, The Gate. You can see it.
No, I haven't seen that. But I'll have to check that out. The
Yeah,
gates.
it's
I'll write that one down too.
well, we'll talk
Like
about
that.
that when it comes to movies, but there's creatures in it, and he was actually seeing similar creatures in it. But another
From
thing
the
too,
HVAC stuff, or from being possessed, essentially,
it was either
or what he thought.
yeah, yeah, there was a exorcism going on, and it went into him or just went into his house, followed him. So that one's
Oh,
a
okay,
good
I see it.
one. Okay.
So as I'm pointing like to the screen, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
And
It's
another
further
thing that
back behind you.
happens in the episode is that there's phone calls, and on the phone calls, they hear voices. And that's something I want to talk about in the next episode, but I'll just leave it right there.
Oh
So that's
man.
something for you to
So
think about.
did you remember? I know it's gonna. We will talk about it later, but did Jess ever tell you that story of her manager Jay at A&W and the house that they used to stay in,
She
where like
might have.
one phone, so one phone would call the other phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So now when you're talking about voices over the phone, I kind
yeah.
of brought that in a memory.
So what's your
So
number three, Gerald?
number three for me, and it's kind of stupid, but just one of the things that used to scare me a lot was the X Files theme song. So I remember watching The Simpsons, and I think the X Files used to come on after The Simpsons
Yeah.
or whatever show we used to watch back there on Fox. The
Hmm.
X Files theme song would come on, and if I was ever alone, I just my house was creepy when I was growing up. Anyway, when I lived on Fifth, the hallway was creepy. There was mirrors everywhere,
Hmm.
and I'd be there watching stuff alone. And if that damn theme song would come on, I would have to change the channel because the hair on my arms would stand up, and I'd just be freaked the hell out. And
Yeah.
they did have some good episodes too. Looking
Oh,
back at it, like kind of thinking,
so
because me
good.
and my coworker were watching, or we were talking, we were discussing this. One of my buddies at work, we were just talking about this when we were in the truck. So, man, it's kind of hard because I don't watch scary shit anymore because my wife. But
Mhm.
some of the old stuff back then, that X Files theme song was fucking creepy. But
Yeah.
some of the monsters in the X Files were pretty freaking wild when you watch some of those episodes. And I remember that. So that was kind of like I probably could have put that in honorable mention because I didn't really watch X Files because it used to scare the shit out of me, just the theme song.
So you never really watched all the seasons?
No, I never did
Oh,
catch any of the seasons because it used to scare the shit out of me.
you
Like
have
I'll
to
watch it
go.
now.
Yeah, you have to go back and watch season one through six, and that's where it kind of started, where it kind of gets wonky. But season one, like season three through six, are complete gold. They're just great. but you can't count out season one and two. They're both good too. But it's kind of funny you chose this at three because I chose this at three too.
Nice.
So
Well, at
we could
least
just
yours
do
will
this
be.
at once.
What's nice is yours would be a lot more detailed, at least, because mine's
Yeah.
like, oh, the theme song scared me. Fuck that show. Gone.
But what my episode that sticks out in my mind is Halloween oriented. I don't know if you've heard or seen this one or heard about it. It's about the vampires, and the main
Oh, probably
vampire
not.
is the guy or the kid that played Ham from The Sandlot.
Oh no, shit. Nice.
Yeah, it's so good because the way that the episode is structured is that they're telling Skinner, the
Hmm.
boss of the FBI, their account of the stories. I think it is, or they're telling someone. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. But Scully has her account, and then he has his accounts, Fox Mulder. And it's just so funny, their parallels and how they remember stuff. So it's an element of comedy, but there's horror too. And the vampire guy,
I
he's
just
he
saw a
has
picture of him.
yeah, he has what do you call it? It's obsessive compulsive disorder. So Mulder has a theme that all vampires have that, and he tests that in the show, and it's so funny. But just the way that it ends up and some of the things going on because people have their accounts too in the show. It's so good. It's such a good episode.
Nice.
Yeah, so you
I'll
have
have
to
to check
watch.
that one out. That looks funny.
I'm telling you, like you got to watch season one through six. It's just so good. There's just so many good episodes.
Nice.
So since it's both one and the same, what's your number two?
So number two, and you haven't watched them yet, and I highly recommend watching them, is Black Mirror.
Okay.
Black Mirror was really freaking creepy, and the reason why it was creepy was just because like how parallel it is to like what's going on now and
Mhm.
technology. And just one of those things you think about. It's like, oh wow, this actually could. It is plausible, you know. So one of the creepiest episodes was so they find out a way to basically create like drone bees because we wiped out the bee population and the bees have all died.
Mhm.
So in all the Black Mirror shows, I think are based out of like Europe and everything. None of them I think are based in the U.S. They're all based out of there. But yeah, they create these bees that are little drones, the little drone bees, and they're autonomous. So they create themselves. You know, they have a hive and everything. But all
Mhm.
they're there to do is pollinate. While people start dying randomly out in the world, like then they think like, oh, this guy had a stroke or heart attack or something. They put him through an MRI or a CAT scan, and all of a sudden, something gets ripped out of his skull while it's one of those little bees. So one of those little bees, somebody hacked it. So we were talking about like hacking things, you know, Neuralink and all that. While some terrorist hacked the bees and were going after certain people, and these little bees were just killing them. You know, they'd go in their brain and wipe them out, and that was freaking creepy. But that was one of the things that's really, if you want to watch something that's like creepy about like sci-fi and all that, and just kind of scary the way things can possibly go, like that's one of them. You got to watch Black Mirror, and like the parallels to it are just nuts. And somehow all the episodes do eventually link into each other in a way,
Mhm.
and it's they're just jacked up when you start like watching. It's like, oh man, this is messed up. Like sci-fi wise, it's creepy as shit because it shows like how things can actually progress that way and go bad.
Yeah. So
Government has too much control and like just weird stuff.
it's essentially just like a modern day Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and it is. We had a hard time watching it when we first started watching it at when I was working Hercules. Me and my coworker Mike were watching them. That was just
Mhm.
something we did, and we ended up catching it because we heard about it and so let's check them out. And we watched like episode, I think like season four, episode one first on accident,
Mhm.
and it was weird. And I remember watching that episode, and that episode was about gaming. So you hooked up a thing to your head, just like I guess like kind of like Neuralink, but you put a little disc on your head and you had an implant and you just zoned out in a chair, but you were actually interacting in a game and you had your whole world there. So this guy was basically controlling like his own universe of Star Trek, and he put his coworkers like memories and shit in that game. So he was fucking with his coworkers, like his real life coworkers he was fucking with in the game.
Hmm.
and they're like, so it'd be like, I don't like you. I get your DNA. I put you in this game, and you're sentient in the game. You don't realize there's no you out there in the world, and I'm just fucking with you constantly. And that's how this guy was doing it. Like he put his employees and stuff in there by taking their DNA from like coffee cups and just weird shit like that.
Hmm.
And the dude was the game creator, and he was doing all this crap. While one of the women found out what he was doing and ended up trapping him in the game, and then they ended up becoming like just running their own game without that guy. But that dude ended up getting stuck in the game. He got stuck, just zoned out because he
So his
couldn't get the
physical
thing
body
off.
was outside.
Yeah, his physical body was
He was
outside,
trapped
but
in
he
there.
couldn't do anything. He was basically like brain dead. He was trapped.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I
it was
definitely have to
crazy.
watch that show.
Yeah, it's fucking good. It's a good show.
So my number two, I don't know if you ever watched Martin, the Martin Show before,
Mm-mm.
Martin Lawrence, but
I've seen few here and there snippets, but not ever watched the whole show.
you have to go back and at least watch season ones through three. They're just classic. So in the season one of Martin, they actually had a Halloween episode, and it was the only one that they had. And in the Halloween's episode, the basis of the show is that Martin is not afraid of anything. He keeps on saying it, and that's just the character he is. He's real boastful and
Mm.
prideful and tough guy and all that. In the episode, his friends and his girlfriend, Gina, Pam, Tommy, and Cole, they all devise a plan to scare him. But you don't know it in the episode until later. So in the episode, a lot of things happen, like the windows, and there's scary things going on, and it finally comes to a point where Tommy, the friend, is possessed and he starts sticking out his tongue and doing weird eyes, and he's finally getting creeped out, but he's still processing, like, what's wrong with you, Tommy? You're okay. Still trying not to be scared and all. And then it turns out at the end of the episode, his coworker, because he works at a radio station, he's controlling everything. And his coworker, I can't think of his name right now, but he's actually the guy who plays Uncle Rico, if you've seen
Okay.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah. So that's one of his starts that he had. He was in the Martin show. He has a coworker. He helped him disc jockey and all that for the radio show, but he was controlling it. And at the end of the episode, because they talk about old man, I can't think of his name, like Wither or something like that. He's haunting the motel, but that was the basis of their haunting and trying to trick him in and anything. But he comes out of the room like he was the actual ghost that was there the whole time. But it's pretty neat, just comedy and the horror elements. I just love that episode.
Nice.
So, what's
So
your honorary mentions, Joe?
yeah. So honorary mentions. I probably should have put X Files and honorable mentions to think about, and now I'm thinking back because it was just a theme song. But um, I'd say like Supernatural. All the Supernatural series, they were really good. I liked them. I watched a lot of them. I liked the whole concept on them, like them hunting demons and monsters and everything.
Yeah,
I always liked just that whole series. That was a really good series for that. And then another one that have to be an honorable mention that was really close to one would be The Stand, and it's
okay.
either or because they did a remake of The Stand, and it was done real well. But
Really?
they did yeah, the remake was done really well. If you ever want to check that one out, but the original was just great too.
Hmm.
They were both great, just post-apocalyptic creepiness. You start watching that and thinking, like, man, that's jacked up. How
Mhm.
things can divulge into so bad. And then shit, another one. I would probably put it as one, but it's kind of tough because they made it into a movie now. Is It?
Yeah,
Because It used to be a series. And man, Pennywise the Clown. I don't know how many people I've talked to who are afraid of clowns. The reason why they're afraid of clowns is Pennywise.
Pennywise. Yeah,
Yeah, Tim Curry's Pennywise was the creepiest freaking clown out there on the planet. Just the way his mannerisms were, things he used to do, just creepy.
yeah.
But man, those ones are kind of tough. Like that's why I kind of put them in the honorable mentions, because they made movies of them now, or they have in a movie instead of the series format.
Yeah.
Because before
Oh,
they were when they first came out, it was all formatted for TV.
yeah.
But
It was still a
now
made
you
for
just
TV movie.
yeah, it's a made for TV movie essentially. So I
Yeah.
can't really put it as episode or episodic in a way.
Have you seen the movie It? Like the newer movie?
Yeah, the new one. Yeah, I saw it.
I thought the first part of it was great, but the second part they just went off. I
Yeah,
didn't like it at all.
it kind of fell flat, man. The second part, the
Mhm.
first part though was
It was gold.
fantastic.
I think it was
Yeah,
great.
that guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but the fact that he could actually do the wandering eye by
Yeah.
himself, and it wasn't something that they. Well, that goes back to the old school movies, which we'll talk about later. But that
Mhm.
goes back to like practical effects and why it was so much better than CGI. And the fact
Yeah.
that he could actually do that, just oh my god, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I agree with you there. The second part of it did, yeah, it just wasn't there. The first one was great. That first remake of it.
Yeah. So mine, I have a whole damn list of everything I need to run down. So it was one of the things that I mentioned, Yu Yu Hakusho, the anime, because that actually aired on the Cartoon Network. That's based on spirits and horror and scary stuff. He's a spirit
You
detective.
see, we should have put anime as a separate category because I could have picked some really fucked up anime that are out
Yeah,
there.
but did it air on TV though?
Not here. It would
Yeah,
have aired in Japan, but
yeah,
we never
that's what
would have
I'm
watched
saying.
it. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is just counting the TV. But yeah, I get you. There's
Mhm.
so much stuff on anime for
Yeah,
sure. But Yu Yu Hakusho, there's the Roseanne Halloween episodes were just great back in the day. I don't know if you ever seen those before.
I never saw the Roseanne Halloween episodes, but
Yeah, but
I've seen
seeing
Roseanne
those,
before.
just seeing the year to year, and I think it only spanned because I have a DVD of like the old episodes, and it's kind of dated, but just seeing those back in the day was so cool, in my opinion. Also, The Outer Limits. I think it's season two that I
Oh, I
like
forgot
better
about
than
the Outer
season one.
Limits.
The Outer Limits, The Twilight Zone, of course. There's so many
Yeah,
good
that was another one
episodes.
too that I thought about now, but yeah, I didn't put it in. Was Twilight Zone, and
Yeah,
because of so many, what I like about Twilight Zone is that Gremlin episode was so iconic that they
it
had
is.
done spin-off upon spin-off of that. You know, in the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, in almost every deal out there, there is a Gremlin on the plane tearing up a wing or a
Yep,
Gremlin doing something, and that was iconic, and it just made it to where yeah, it's just a great. It was a great part of like history as far as movies, scary movies is concerned, or just oddities.
yeah.
I forgot about the X Files, man. X Files had or not X Files, but um,
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. Yeah, Twilight Zone has such great stuff to it.
There's so many good episodes. There's just so
Yeah,
many. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
yeah. Charlie Brown's a great film. Yeah, I
That's
remember
so
that.
good. What else? Over the Garden Wall. Have you ever watched that before?
Over the Garden Wall. That sounds
It
familiar, but
was
I don't
aired
think
on
I
the
have.
Cartoon Network, and it has Elijah Wood as one of the voice. It's so good. It's just so good for Halloween too. You have to watch it. It's a cartoon, but you'll love it. You need to watch it.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, for
I like
sure.
the
You need to check
animation
that out.
style.
And just to go further in that, and we'll talk about that when it comes to movies. Like we could even talk about that and like beyond. Is like Elijah Wood just has done so much good stuff outside of Lord of the Rings. Because I really don't like Lord of the Rings, like the movies. I just like the book and going the whole thing. But I think everyone's like that, where you read the book and they see the movie, like, oh, come on. But still,
Only
man,
thing I did
stuff
like
he,
is like they left stuff out of the movies for
Mhm.
sure, but one for one, he did a really good job on those movies. To be honest, like I was one thing I do appreciate Peter Jackson. He stayed close to the source material in a way to the point where like The Hobbit was way too fucking long. When he made The Hobbit, it was
Yeah.
like, good
He
God, man,
ruined The Hobbit. He
you
ruined
ruined The Hobbit with certain things. It was ridiculous. But Lord of the Rings and on like the Fellowship of the Rings, the way they did it, I really enjoyed it for the most part. I liked them.
it.
But yeah, I'm with you. The books are so much better. You read the books, it's always better. I mean, that's a lot with me. With a lot of, we'll talk about books later
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, like
that'll
when
be
you
in the
watch
third
movie
one.
adaptations, it's like, meh.
And another thing, I don't know if you ever seen it before, the Tales from the Dark Side theme song.
Yeah,
Man, that was so creepy just hearing that. And the Monsters intro, I don't know if you ever seen that before, where the family,
all real monsters, or
no, 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 the Monsters, it's a television show.
oh yeah, the old
In the
black and white.
beginning, no, no, it was from the late 80s, early 90s, I think. And in the intro to the show, there's a family of monsters, and the mother comes in and she's serving dinner, and they're gonna watch something on TV, and the dad is a monster, and the daughter and the mother are Cyclops. That's what's the intro. I'll have to send it to you, but that's something just iconic that was
Okay,
around.
we're probably thinking about a different thing then, because the monsters I remembered was like it was like it wasn't a spin-off, it was like an offshoot of like the Addams Family. So the Addams Family had their show, and then they had another show. It's called The
Oh, the
Munsters, and it had
monsters. Yeah,
yeah, The
that's it's
Munsters.
not the same.
So I was thinking of something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying, wait a minute, Cyclops. I don't remember Cyclops and the Munsters,
Oh,
but
yeah,
yeah,
you'll see it and it's like, oh, this was pretty cool. And I always wish that the show was like that because the show was but like the intro to it was just so good. But that's all I have for there's so many that I had honorable mentions. I just kept on thinking about stuff. So what's your
you
number one,
just
Gerald?
you just reminded me another one of honorable mention would have been Tales from the Crypt
Yeah.
and the Crypt Keeper. The
Yeah, the
Crypt Keeper
cartoon.
one was oh wasn't a cartoon. You remember that there was a series called The Crypt Keeper or Tales from the Crypt, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a cartoon. But
Was it
their
a
intro
cartoon?
where they went through the house and everything, and then all of a sudden he pops up out of the coffin with a
Oh
jump
no.
scare
I've never
and
seen
screams
that
at you.
before.
He was a puppet. Yeah, check that out. Look up Tales from the Crypt and
Okay.
check out the intro to the actual deal because they made a couple of movies too.
Yeah.
Tales of the Crypt was doing like Bordello of Blood, and there was another one too that they did that was iconic, Demon Knights. But yeah, Tales from the Crypt. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
that
forgot
could
about
have been
that
on the
too.
list because man, there's some creepy stories,
Hmm.
and it was all episodic, like or just different stories, like little short stories made into um like just episodes. And there was another one out there like that. And I think it was done by Stephen King. It was a Creep Show.
Yeah, that was more a movie. There's a new
Yes.
creep show. That's one thing that way I had to consider too, because like just airing on TV compared to like Netflix and everything.
Yeah.
Because I would have mentioned like Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Have
That
you
was
seen that too? The first season of Stranger Things, because I love the first season of Stranger Things.
yeah, that was another thing
Stuff
I
like that.
should have thought about too, because that's the same thing with Black Mirror. Now Black Mirror did air on TV, but I think it aired on TV in Europe and not
Hmm.
here in the States. It was more of a European thing. And I first caught that on Netflix just watching it. But yeah, so I remember they did Creep Show and they redid them. So that was
Yeah,
kind of
the newer
cool.
creep show
Goosebumps
is
they redid.
amazing.
And then you have other things too, like what was Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities
Yeah,
on
I haven't watched
Netflix.
those. Were those any
I
good?
haven't watched them yet either. I haven't
I
watched
need
them
to,
yet, so I have to
because it's
watch them.
Guillermo del Toro. I need to watch those.
Yeah, same here, and I haven't done it. I just been well, once again once I got with my wife, I haven't watched any creepy things anymore. I have to watch them when she's at work or she's
Yeah,
with her parents or something because she can't stand them. She
yeah,
freaks out about them. So number one for me, as far as TV was concerned, and it was a specific episode of The Walking Dead. I don't know if you watched any of the Walking Dead shows.
yeah, yeah.
How far did you get into them?
I got up to where Negan killed Glenn.
Did you stop watching after that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
We've
damn,
been
there's
actually recently been watching Fear of the Walking Dead, and I like that up to, I don't know if you've seen that before, have you?
yeah, I've seen I think I've seen the first two seasons, 2 or 3 seasons of
Okay.
it, and I kind of like the perspective of what was going on like on the West Coast as opposed
Yeah.
to the East, like how they would deal with it. But I
Yeah.
didn't really get into it as much as I did when the walk. I have to rewatch them. I've been watching Daryl Dixon now, where
Okay.
he's in France, and that was really interesting. It's kind of cool.
Hmm.
You got to see like how he gets there and how they come up with variants of zombies now. So there's different types of zombies.
Hmm.
So and it's kind of cool when you start seeing that in this one because you start remembering when you rewatch The Walking Dead, like going
Mhm.
all the way through, you start seeing like certain zombies do certain things, and you think, oh, that's kind of strange. And then you start realizing, oh shit, that's a fucking variant. That's one that's learning how to open doors or use tools.
Hmm.
Because it's kind of cool because the intro to that whole entire Walking Dead thing, or to the Daryl Dixon one, when he's ending up in Europe or he ends up in France, is I think they were talking because that was the last place that guy was talking to people was in France for the CDC. So
Yeah.
he's talking to somebody in like Paris or somewhere in France about what's going on, and they mention variant, and you don't catch it in. I don't think they put it in the episodes or that episode, but it comes back. So like somebody there is talking to somebody in the U.S. from the CDC. It's like, have you seen variants yet? Have you seen them doing this, or have you seen them doing anything strange? And the guy says no, but they've been locked in the CDC. But one of the episodes, and you have to rewatch it, man. You got to watch it over. I know the Negan thing kind of turned a lot of people off when he killed Glenn,
Hmm.
but there was an episode, and it was the introduction of the Whisperers, and that
Well, I've
freaking
read the comic book before I know who they are.
the introduction to the Whisperers in the show,
Hmm.
it brought back like the old school like horror movie vibe to it. Like they're
Okay.
walking through a graveyard. It's freaking foggy. They're thinking, oh, it's just walkers here. Fuck it, let's kill these guys. And then all of a sudden, boom, one dodges and then gets somebody. And then they whisper to him in their ear, "You do not belong."
Hmm.
And it's like, what the fuck, It's like it's
Yeah.
just like one of those. It was really good, and they did a really good job with that to the point I think it almost probably helped bring back the series in a way.
Hmm.
But it brought back that level of tension and fear that you get from old school movies. I'll tell you what, like these are hard to talk about now. Like just because like you try to look back at, I don't know, you probably this way too, but you look back at some of the scary movies or scary shows, and you just think, nothing scares me anymore. Like I watched one thing that scared me when I was a kid, and now nothing scares me.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's like,
I agree with that too. And you know who I started watching Walking Dead with was Jess. Going over Chris and Jess, I went to their house and that's the first time I watched Walking Dead and we continued to watch it until the end.
Jess was fun about like stuff like that. It was
Mhm.
funny with her that way because we'll bring this up later on in another podcast too with video games. So Jess, we got her into gaming and we made her into a monster because she was
Yeah.
playing Call of Duty and just wrecking people.
Halo
I
too.
think she was,
Halo where she
yeah,
started off.
dude. I think she was like top 100 in the nation or some shit like that at one time on
Really?
COD. Yeah,
I
dude,
didn't
she
know
was
she was
pretty
that
high up
good.
there. They were kicking some ass to the point where like I don't want to play anymore because I just die. But
Yeah.
no, it was fun to play with Jess, and she was really good. She was kicking some ass there for a while. But she would never play like survival. She'd always like text me about these survival horror video games, and she knew I was into them.
Mhm.
And nothing was really that scary anymore, except for like the first few Resident Evils that they came out with that were actually really good.
Yeah. She would
But
talk
there
about
was,
zombie Nazis.
yeah, Zombie Nazis was fun. But
Yeah.
like, so Jess would like talk about it, and I go to her house up in Springs, and I said, "Hey, I just got this game. You want to play it with me? Want to check it out?" And it was Outlast.
Mhm.
Outlast was jacked up, but she sat there and just watched it. Like she wanted to watch me play, but she wouldn't play it alone. It's like I never play these games; they're terrifying. But I love watching. I'll watch you guys play them if you guys are around. And it was the same thing with like scary movies. So she didn't like scary movies unless we were watching them with her. So like we
Yeah.
went and watched like Paranormal Activity or The Conjuring and all that,
Hmm.
and she'd watch them with us. Like we'd always make a plan to go. Oh, we're gonna go watch Evil Dead, or we're gonna watch a movie.
Yeah. I
But by
remember
herself, no.
I I just remember screaming at the top of the lungs, say, "You piece of shit camper." Like when she finds someone just sitting there.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
She was so fun to fucking watch play or even listen to. Like when we lived in that little duplex, it was funny. I hear her like scream at people and shit. It's like, oh, that's fucking great. She's
Yeah.
playing. I get on.
Yeah. Those are some fun times.
Yeah.
So my number one favorite, I don't know if you've seen it back in the day, as it was back in the early mid 90s. I think it was just mid 90s, come to think of it, but was Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon?
Oh yeah, I do remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's another one that comes to mind now. Like, you start thinking about it. It's, oh yeah.
So the my specific episode is called The Tale of Midnight Madness. And in the episode, it's based on a theater, an old theater, and people ain't going into it no more because there's a new Cineplex going on, and there's not many new movies playing in. So they're disappointed, the two employees. There's a dude and a chick, and they're servicing everyone, and the same people are coming by, the same couple of people. So there's a guy that comes in and he comes with his films, and his name is Dr. Vink. And he says, if you play this film, people will come. And they delay it for a while, and they're finally starting to close. And then they said, oh, okay, we'll just play this movie. Maybe this will actually happen. Like one of the employees, and there's a boss that's totally against it. So they just go and play it. So when they play it, that's when the audience starts to come up. And the only thing that Dr. Vink said is that you eventually have to play 1 day out of the month, the film that I want. Like your theater will be continue to be successful, but if you don't do this, things will happen. It's kind of ominous. He didn't actually say that. So what ends up happening, because the manager doesn't want to play or give him his cut, or that's all he wants to do is just play his films as certain day of the week, like on a Thursday, every Thursday. So what happens is that Nosferatu, that's what the movie that he bring is based on. He jumps out of the theater and he tries to get everyone around the theater. And that's what the episode. I encourage you to watch it. I mean, not all these episodes were good. Are You Afraid of the Dark? But there's some that are just so
I'll
good. And
check that one out. I just popped up on my YouTube too, so
yeah,
I'll
that's my
catch it
favorite
later. But man,
episode out of all of them was the Tale of Midnight Madness.
God, I forgot about Are You Afraid of the Dark? That was a good one. Their intro is pretty creepy too,
Yeah,
with the rocking boat and everything.
yeah, and just them gathering up by the fire and everything. Just that
Yeah.
whole setting was just great.
So what was the other one? Well, I think Goosebumps was another one, right?
Yeah, it
And the
wasn't as
puppet.
good, but
Yeah, but the puppet one was freaking
oh,
creepy.
what's his name? What's his
Um,
name? Slappy.
yeah, Slappy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The
that
movie
one's
was
one of the
really
most
good with
iconic
Jack
ones.
Black, in my opinion.
Oh, really? Nice. I never did
Never
watch
seen
the
that one?
movie. Uh-uh.
Yeah, it's fun. You should watch it.
I'll check that one out. I can get my wife to
First
watch
one.
that one. She'd watch it.
So our next topic is our best. Do you want to start childhood or adult memories of Halloween?
So let's go childhood memories of Halloween for first. So mine would just be walking around the east side in costume and just getting candy like until all hours of the freaking night. I remember doing that stuff, and I remember thinking like we used to go in a little pack, which I guess was pretty smart back then because people would be robbing you of your candy and shit. The older kids, well, we always just walk around with sticks and shit and defend ourselves. But that was always really fun. Was doing that, um, just getting candy with your friends and dressing up and being able to do everything. I remember, geez, one of my earliest memories from my childhood was being a vampire, in elementary school, Fountain Elementary, and I remember it was cool because like my parents didn't have a whole lot of money. My dad worked full time. My mom didn't work; she was a stay at home mom. And they made my costume basically out of like old clothes they had, and it was really cool, and it looked better than store bought stuff. And I remember just
Mhm.
having fun, just dressing up as like a vampire with the fake teeth, the fake blood, pale face. That was fun. Then a pirate one year, but it was all just practical stuff we had around the house that we made costumes out of. And God, that was just such a good fond memory. As far as adult was concerned, my favorite memories would be we used to do Halloween parties at my Aunt Deb's all the time. And that was the funnest time we've ever freaking had. Like, I used to be the bartender and I just make drinks for people and we just have fun, just dress up. And it wasn't like just us hanging around drinking. My Aunt Deb made like a valiant effort to like play games. Like, so hey, we're all together because there's a bunch of people from her work, people from my dad's work, friends, cousins, aunts and uncles. We're all at her house, and her house was creepy as shit. She bought this house. Oh God, I want to say it was in the '90s. She ended up buying this in '97, I think. But she got this house down on the west side, and it was an old doctor used to live there. It had French double doors in there, beautiful house. It had like three sets of like French double doors in it, like separated rooms. And it had an intercom system that you push the button on the wall and you can talk to your servants. In the kitchen, there was a little room where their laundry room was. There was a toilet there for servants, and it was just a toilet. No room or anything, nothing to hide, just a servant's toilet to use the restroom there. But it was like an old like surgeon's house or something. and it was a creepy house. So when they made it into a haunted house,
It was
it
really
looked freaking
scary.
haunted. Yeah, it was cool.
That sounds awesome.
But yeah, we had good times out there. So like I said, she used to like make an effort to, okay, we're gonna play this game, and it's gonna be a team game where, okay, we're gonna use toilet paper to make this person into a mummy, but they she picked people like from different groups just to interact with each other. And then she didn't tell them something like, okay, now that the mummy's made, now the mummy has to walk from this part to the other part in order to win. So like people are just wrapping people up like all the way around instead of wrapping legs individually. So we had one. She was dressed as Elvira. She had a really good costume, so she was already used to walking kind of.
Fun.
No, it wasn't Elvira. It was Morticia.
Hmm.
She was dressed as Morticia Adams. You know, how Morticia would always walk because her legs were always real close to each other.
Yeah, because their dress
So
is so tight.
yeah, the dress was so tight. She was like that. So she was already used to it. So she was walking with paper, with like toilet paper without ripping the costume all the way across the room. It was some good stuff. There's
Yeah,
some
that
other good
sounds
games
fun.
that she played. It was fun. I miss those days.
Yeah, anything. It just seems like the past is just so good compared to what it is now. Not to say it ain't good now, but just back then it was so fun. So mine as a child, I can't remember if it was like in third grade. It was when I was really little. I got my hands on paint. It was black and white paint, and I was able, even back then, to draw so good on my own face. I made myself a skeleton and I put a black cloak on. It was just stuff that I had. I really didn't like you. I didn't have much money
Yeah.
at all. And I went to school and I won first place in the Halloween contest for me
Nice.
painting my own face. And all that I won was a candy apple. And I was like, a candy apple. Even back then, I was like, what the fuck? Candy apple? I was so disappointed. I was
uh,
like this is all I got. I thought I didn't know what I had in mind, but I thought it would be like grand or something or grander than a candy apple. It's like I was so disappointed.
like what a chip.
Yeah, I got a rock that was like Charlie Brown. That was my
Yeah.
rock moment. And as an adult, my favorite thing that happened, and one of the things, and that was my last Halloween hanging out with Jess because the next year she passed. We went to a Halloween stroll in the graveyard, and they had actors and they talked about scary things that happened in Colorado. And we went to
Oh, cool.
the gravesite, and we saw that. But my favorite overall was with Jess. And do you remember Ryan? We used to work with Ryan, me and Jess. He was a
Yeah, I think
tall,
so.
skinny guy. So we went to Springs with Ryan and we went to a haunted house. And it was in where they have the flea market where they have all the units where it looks like storage, but it's a flea market. So
Yeah.
people could open their door and it's just the front of the building, but it's inside of a building, if that makes sense. So they had
Yeah.
the Halloween or the haunted house in there. I don't know if you ever heard this story before. I'm sure you have.
No. No,
No,
not this one.
once I'm sure you'll recall once I talk about it. So me and Jess and Ryan were waiting, and there's like clowns coming up to you trying to scare you, and I was like, So I wonder what this is going to be like because it kind of felt like it was going to be scary. But so we went to the door, and as soon as we hit the door, me and Ryan started laughing automatically, and we could not stop. I don't know why it was so funny, but Jess, we tried to hang on to her, but she got like lost behind us. But me and Ryan were laughing so hard, we came to this point in where like we're going in the maze part, and there was a guy that looked at Ryan and says, "Why are you laughing?" And Ryan said, "I don't know." It was so funny. And
Oh.
at the end, we had to go to through like this. I don't know if it was like plastic things that were closed together, and Jess had to pass through it, or we all did, because we caught up by Jess eventually. And we had to push through it and they were just compacted. So you had to squeeze. There were like two bags that were filled up. And she had a panic attack going through there.
Oh shit.
But yeah, we had to calm her down. I thought you would have heard that, like
No.
that going on. Yeah, but that was such a fun time. And after that, we went and saw the Halloween movie, like the Rob Zombie movie. I can't remember if it was the first or second one, but that
If
was
it
just
was
such a fun night.
Yeah, if it was more true to the original Halloween, it was the first one. The second one he had a little bit of leeway with. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but that was it was so fun.
that's
Just
awesome.
just that memory of like just hitting the door and us automatically laughing. It was just I don't know why we were laughing. It was just so funny.
It just completely and utterly killed the whole mood of their haunted house. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, those
People are
the
just laughing
employees were
at us.
so
Like,
angry at us.
sucks.
'Cause they were so mad, and then Jess
That's
was
funny.
behind us. Man, I felt so bad for going through that, but it was just such a fun time and a good memory.
Nice. Man, jeez. We went to a couple haunted houses with Jess before too. That was pretty fun. And we went to the one out in the farm and we got kicked out of the one. They tried to kick us out of the one at the farms because the ones out there, like, you had to go in a group of like so many people.
Hmm.
And for some reason, like, the group ahead of us, like, two or three people freaking bailed and they just took off. So there were like two people way ahead by themselves. And then there was our group. Well, this guy thought that we just separated in the group
Hmm.
and he's over here chasing and he pushed one of our buddies, our buddy Ron. He pushed him in the back, said, "Get over there!" And like Ron turned and was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" So get out of here! You guys are done. It's like we're not even with that group, asshole. And like we almost got in a fist fight with this guy with this chainsaw because he trying to like push us. As soon as he touched Ron, Ron had enough. He's like, "No, I'm gonna beat your ass right now if you do that again." It's like I don't care what you guys are doing here. This is bullshit, and we were pissed.
Who are
But that
y'all
was
with?
kind of an interesting one. It was I think it was me, Jess, Ron, and probably my ex.
Okay.
We were all hanging out, and we went to that Halloween house, and then we went to another one downtown. And I can't remember where this was, but it was actually pretty good. It was one of the older houses. You know that
Mhm.
house down there on is it Greenwood or Grand where they have that big old skeleton up
Oh, okay.
with
Yeah,
the two
that's
porch?
on
Yeah, they're
13
renovating it.
and Main.
Court or Maine? I can't remember, but yeah, I think it might have been that house because I remember it was one of
Yeah,
the older houses down there,
but it
and it
has a
was
giant
and
skeleton in the front of it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
in the window, yeah. And I think it might have been one of those ones because I remember it being kind of downtown area. It was an old house, an old building they turned into a haunted house. And that
Yeah.
one was pretty cool. But I haven't done haunted houses forever, and I don't know, just some of
Yeah.
them like they wanted to start doing shit like I don't know if Jess brought it up or somebody else did, but they wanted to start doing the haunted houses that were it might have been my ex because she was into a lot of that stuff. But wanted to do the haunted houses in Denver where like you pay like a certain amount of money and if you make it through, you get your money
Yeah.
back or you get a prize.
Yeah, like the 13th floor or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know
13
about some
floors
of
or
those.
something
Like,
like that.
like
Yeah,
you
I
have
know
to
what you're
write a
talking about.
you have to write a waiver and everything, saying how like they can touch you and stuff or grab you. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. But if anybody's a hand on me, I'm probably gonna be pretty pissed if
Yeah.
they start grabbing me and shit.
I could see how people get afraid of that, but I don't know. Just stuff like that's never afraid me or had me scared of anything like that. So I'm sure they're the same way. But I
Yeah,
don't want to be touched like that too.
yeah.
I understand.
I'm not big on you groping me, just try to
Yeah,
scare
yeah.
me.
Like a free ticket to fill someone up. Nah, no thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that.
All right, so this was our first week. We're gonna automatically do this back to back. So
Cool.
it was a good show, Gerald.
Was what? When are we gonna do the next one?
We're gonna do this right after immediately.
Oh,
So we'll
sweet,
shut this down. So
nice.
thank you for everyone for watching, Villains and Creeps.